But the other scene that we shot was the scene where Dirk comes out and he starts yelling at Burt Reynolds and Burt Reynolds, and then so Paul tells me, okay, when the scene's over, you know, and you're kind of standing behind Dirk, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's there looking kind of scared, but when the scene's over, you know, and Dirk runs away, why don't you fuck with Burt Reynolds a little bit? You know, just like fuck with him, like get in his face, like fucking try to maybe start a fight. And so take one, right? Dirk comes out, he says, it's my big dick, and we're gonna, you know, shoot, and he's like, no, go home, dude. And then Dirk storms out. The rest of the cast leaves, and I just stand there. And Burt Reynolds, he looks at me, he's like, "The fuck do you want?" and I started fucking with him, you know. I said, "Yeah, motherfucker, you fucking," and I pushed him, right? Burt Reynolds turned around, he fucking kicked me in the nuts. Right? And then we get into it, like you know, start fighting. And well, I was like, what? You know, I was like, wow, you must be a pretty good actor, you know. No, man, he thought the take was over, and I was a punk actor getting in his face. He thought it was over. Paul Thomas Anderson didn't tell Burt Reynolds that we were fucking doing a little improv after the fucking scene was over, right? The next day in the paper, it said, Mark Wahlberg and Burt Reynolds get in a fight on set. And to his credit, he also he gave me a bottle of champagne. I don't drink champagne, but thanks. You know, but it was cool. He left me a bottle of something in the trailer the next day, and he actually turned out to be really, really cool. The other great memory I have of Boogie Nights is during that big party scene with the big, long Steadicam shot where we had all the actors there, and it's New Year's Eve or whatever it is, and well, you know, that took forever to shoot. It took all night, maybe a couple of nights, I can't remember, to shoot this one Steadicam shot. So all the actors would sit around with really nothing to do, and they're all kind of bullshitting in this house in the middle of nowhere. And instead of going to his trailer, Burt Reynolds would hang out, and you know, we're all young actors, and we all started talking to him, and I remember we were all sitting on the living room floor, you know, waiting for them to set up, and we're all these young guys and girls sitting on the floor, and Bert's sitting in a big, you know, puffy chair, and he started telling us stories about being a young actor in New York City, and you know, running into Marlon Brando and auditioning for stuff, and not being able to get work because he looks just like Marlon Brando, which you know, I mean, which is true, but it was really fun to sit there for a couple hours and just hear Burt Reynolds tell all these neat stories, and for some reason that really stuck with me. You know, that was a really neat moment. You know, it's kind of, because it's an oral tradition, this acting stuff, this theater acting. You know, this is an oral tradition. It's something that's passed down from person to person, from actor to actor. You know, that's how actors learn. It's how we learn our craft, and it's how you know, we're literally standing on the shoulders of all the guys that have come before us, and I kind of saw that link, you know, up close and personally, watching Burt kind of share his experience with us, and it was a good moment for us. Yeah. Okay. Want to watch the movie?
I'm going to take a couple audience questions if you're cool
sure.
with that. Yeah. Anyone have a question for Tom?
Okay, let's watch the movie.
Yeah, we got one question.
Yeah.
The scene at Molina's house was, I guess all the sounds were probably added in later. Were you guys acting about any of the firecrackers that happened? Or?
Yeah, the firecracker stuff?
Yeah, that was all just, there was nothing happening at the time. You were sort of throwing in and that was all added in later on.
Yeah, you know, for the first, day, it was firecrackers.
And by the way, that was a friend of Paul's. That was not in the scene. That guy was not in the scene. You know, and literally we're sitting there, you know, doing the scene, and suddenly this small Asian boy shows up and starts throwing firecrackers. You know, like, And he got, for that first couple of takes, maybe first take, he got the reaction that he wanted. And people were like, what the fuck? From the actors, which was really cool. But then we had to recreate that for the next 3 days. From all the different angles and stuff. You can tell, after about maybe the first 20, 30 firecrackers that go off, you're kind of, but then after that, man, it's like, you can't even hear anymore. So Paul brought a starting pistol in, and we used the starting pistol for a little while, and that got old. We were trying everything, but that was an interesting moment. I remember he brought in a big couple of boards, and he was slapping those together. Yeah, it was interesting, but it was an awesome part of the scene. The scene was brilliant to begin with, but then to bring that fucking kid in and having him throwing those firecrackers, the tension, just it made your skin crawl. Beat the fuck out of that guy. That was really, really fun. Yeah.
Well, my last question for you is, I'm just curious, had you seen Heart 8 before you started working with Tom? Did they screen it maybe or something?
Yeah, he did. Paul had a screening of Heart 8. I don't think the movie had actually come out yet when we started filming Boogie Nights. Am I right about that?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah, the movie hadn't come out, but he said, let's watch my first film, and we got a theater together, and the cast and the crew showed up and all watched Heart 8. And we're thinking, yeah, this is pretty good. This guy, he's not stupid. This should be a good movie. To my eye, I was like, yeah, this guy's talented, but nothing like the way Boogie Nights turned out. And I used to go and hang out in the editing room with Paul and watch him put the movie together, and that was really fun, with Dylan. And they just showing us different scenes or showing, but I used to kind of hang out and watch because I always knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. And the other guy that let me do that is Frank Darabont. He used to go and when he was doing The Mist, I'd show up every day like it was a job. I was like, you said I could come. You said sure. He's like, yeah, but mostly nobody comes. Nobody really comes. But he was really, really cool about it. So, anybody else got a question or yeah, in the back of the bed?
When you were coaching Pop, what was the first thing you learned to prepare the voice or the walk or movement and stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. What was the first kind of thing that I worked on with Todd Parker? I know that I was. I think that Paul cast me in the film because I got the feeling that I reminded him of that asshole kid in high school. That was like that, and it reminded me of the asshole kid in my high school. That was Todd Parker. But the truth was, I was not that guy at all. I was the guy painting the theater sets. And I played football, but I was the guy with a. But yes, I had a '69 Camaro, and I used to kind of race it a little bit. But this was in the backwoods of Maryland. I mean, we were. We weren't assholes. I used to take the script and I'd take it down to my little theater on Hyperion and get the other actors to play all the roles, and we would sit and we would rehearse the scenes, and we kind of do the scenes in our we had like an acting class once a week down there at the theater, and I would bring in the script and we would just do scenes from the script, and it was there fucking around with and I'd bring in funny glasses or do my hair crazy, trying all this different stuff, or bring in a flowered shirt. I mean, I didn't have any clue about sort of who this guy was. I just knew that I was trying to find him, and then I think it just clicked in one day. I think it was the voice, just doing the scenes in my little theater on Hyperion, and I think the first thing as an actor that I found was the way that Todd talked. And once I found that, everything else, which usually happens with a role, that you care about. You'll find one little element, you know, a walk, a voice, a mustache, and that'll kind of, everything else will kind of unfold from that. But I think it was the voice with Todd Parker. It's a good question.
All right. Well,
Anybody else? All right. Thanks for having me. Enjoy Boogie